Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is the Code Mage, Sean Rogowski, building a fantasy console. So today, I guess to this point where we've gotten, I'll kind of show you that. But everything I've been developing up to this point is really the prototype. So, hope you're all enjoying some coffee this morning if you are watching. If it is morning when you're watching this, I mean. So to this point, we've got, the ability to launch our fantasy console and a menu system. We can create something new. It launches a web browser. There's a bit of an API on it where you can. Now there's no game loaded, or there shouldn't have been a game loaded. Oh no, never mind. Hello's loaded, and so here it gives you. There's some HADOS is what it's called. The hypertext or hypermedia is the engine of applications state, I think is what it's said. So there's that. So each one of these links kind of tells you where to go. There's some things I learned there. If you want to see what the code, for instance, is, you would go. Now there's no code because I just created this, but if you wanted to see the sprites, now there's no data loaded there, but you get an output of that. So you've got an API attached to this. Let's run one. And last stream I got it so that I could actually display a sprite on the screen. So that's kind of where everything ended up. Now I think at this point I've done enough with the prototype and I've learned enough with it that I'm ready to move on to kind of speccing out the real thing. And there'll be some rework that I do, and maybe I'll try to do some of that off stream so I'm not boring you with it, but well, whatever. But what I want to do is kind of take a step back and actually write out more of a spec and look at what this thing is, defining this thing much more. So now one of the things that I need to figure out is I've been using the to this point I've been using the code name FC360. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. Oh. So I've been using, wow, that's an interesting way to do it, 0. FC360 as the code name for this. But I want to get rid of that, and I want to actually make this, I'm going to save this to my desktop quick as a README. And I'll use that to kind of, shoot. I'll save that to desktop. Oh, there it is. Good. Never mind. Okay. So the first thing that I want to actually think on is what the name of this thing is going to be for real. I don't really like the name FC360. What I did want to kind of show is there's this list out there of, and there's probably a few lists that I can look at, but just to get an idea of what people are using for names and go over that route and take a look at some of these fantasy consoles out there. So this is at, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's at Paladin Fantasy. Yeah. On GitHub, Paladin-T Fantasy. And it's a list of fantasy consoles / computers, which is what I'm building. One Bit Wonder looks pretty sharp. Fairly similar to some of the stylistic elements that I'm going for. Basic 8. Very pretty. Bitsy, I'm not gonna run. Chroma 60. Is this like a hex? I participated in this FTZ jam. Wow, look at that. click 4. Okay, that's cool. Sea toy. Neat. So this has got its name probably because it's using 1-bit, 1-bit for rendering. So there's doesn't look like there's any actual colors associated with it in terms of what you write. So that's how they got their name. Basic 8 probably because it's using Basic. Bitsy talks about how small things are. Chroma 8, like Chroma, bring probably, I don't know. Probably just the color range that they're using, maybe. Click 4. Or Clicka. Oh, it's an A. Clicka. So you are... Yeah, I don't really know. C toy, it's C. Drac. I wonder what Drac stands for. So dragon. Probably tying into the whole fantasy term. DX8. Ooh, this is kind of neat. Man, that fantasy console game jam. I want to see that run again. That was really cool. Should talk to some people about running that. Fancade. Don't know. Fazic. Basic name. I like their font. Their color scheme here. This is pretty neat. Going on the retro TV look. That's pretty cool. G-Eon. So, common things are to go off of some sort of retro theme, including numbers that are relevant. So 8, Pixelvision 8 is one that I've actually helped work on. I have a credit in the loading screen, I believe, which is pretty cool. Pico 8 is probably the master of all of them, or not master, the number one, the top dog in terms of fantasy consoles. Smile Basic. Again, a basic thing. Tiny computer is TIC 80. TIC 80 is probably the second most popular, I would say, and then I'd put Pixelvision 8 as 3. I don't really know. Maybe it's not. I don't know if I consider Voxatron a true fantasy console. Vector Boy, that's pretty neat. Yuki. I wonder if there's any other. And these are going off of. And you can see there's lots of people that have come up with them. So that's kind of how they name. They're usually small, tiny words like bitsy or pico or little or lico, tiny words. Usually a number indicating 8 bits, 16 bits, some sort of display thing. And that's kind of how it goes. I don't know if I really want to follow these kinds of thing. I like these ones so they're a little more interesting, like phosphor. I mean, it's not exactly a yeah, I mean, it's not exactly telling what it is, but so I guess I can just start doing some brainstorming here. Something that I keep going through is Darkbox. I don't really know that that fits really with any sort of thematic element within it. That's the first thing that came into my head when I was going through this. I mean, I could keep on the flow of doing FC and go with like FC83 or something like that, which is like a TI83, which is really the throwback. Oh, 83. The throwback that I'm kind of going for. Where FC is just fantasy console. Now I could do something like, you know, TI was actually Texas Instruments. I could go with something like MI, so I'm in Minnesota. And my would kind of, you know, give the sense of me. 83 being again now Texas Instruments, like a TI-83. That's, I believe, the model number. Every TI calculator has got a model number on it. Now I'm not going for perfect calculator, you know, emulation. I don't really want that. I want something similar to it, but I basically want the menu experience and some of the same API experiences that you get with TI calculators. I wonder if there's just a list of TI calculators out there. Yeah, so they've got all sorts of TI 7, TI 12, 15. So this is, oh, TI, well, yeah. And then there's this guy. What is this? Anaton. Huh. Ooh, that's a pretty calculator, isn't it? Calculators were so neat. Little Professor. And that's a TI calculator from 1976 is what it looks like. That is really cool. They don't make stuff like that anymore. I wish they did. Well, they do, but it's not nearly as, I don't know, classy, maybe. TI 108. Oh, man, I had one of these. This was probably the first calculator that I ever had. I think my dad might still have it sitting around the house somewhere as he uses it occasionally. So I could go with like my 83. Something like that just to keep with it, or go with a different number here. 85, like my birth year, or you know, some other number. If you hear a in the back, that's my dog. He's a French bulldog. He makes lots of noises. Well, the MI-83. MI-83. I really am liking that more and more. Maybe I went a little crazy with the font size here. I might shut that down to 32 so I can fit it more on the screen here. So let's just say we go with the MI-83-83 nomenclature. Okay, so let's think of the other things that we need to hear. We've got the MI-83. Well, actually, one thing you do with naming, if you're doing something like this, is you should always do a search for anything that's related to that, just to make sure you're not going to be using some sort of a name of something just bad. It doesn't look like there's anything there. So language, we've already decided is Python, which at this point in time, at least to start, will be IronPython 0.7 to be exact. Actually, let's just fill this out the way he's got it there. So that's the language. Platform, Windows for sure. I'm going to just leave it at that, although I will probably make it so that it can be ported to Mac and Linux. I just don't have setups to do that. And then you see the display is actually really important on this. Which, let's take a look at what we have. Now, one of the things I want to change about the actual implementation here is, let me see, display buffer, which I put down here. One of the things I want to change about this is how the, so it's 192 by 128. And the reason for that is that the original TI-83 calculator had 96 pixels, I think, which divided by 6 was the width of a character. You could fit 16 characters, and I wanted to double that, so it's 32 wide. And then 128 was kind of the same thing. There's 64 pixels, was 8 things. So I wanted to double that to 128 so that there's 16 rows of data. So that's just taking the TI-83 calculator, or TI-83 calculator, and doubling its display specs. Now, one of the things that when I run this fantasy console that I don't like necessarily is that you're buddied up here to the, when you're in the console mode, you're really buddied up to the edge here. And, you know, it's not terrible. But what I kind of like the idea of doing is adding a bit of like a bevel around the outside, but making that available when you're in graphics mode. So I thought that the Commodore 64, I might have just been thinking this up, but, you know, well, maybe, see how there's this bevel here? I think that's just because of the way that the display worked. I don't really know, I was never really a Commodore guy, but what I think I might do is kind of follow suit with this and say, you know, put a bevel here around the edge that's colored slightly different in this kind of similar way. And that you can use in graphics mode, but you can't use in console mode. So this would actually be the limitations of the character cell. So if you think about it, we would have a box like this. Oh. And then you would have this be 192 and this to be 128. You know, 192, 128. But your outer one, the actual one, would need to be some increased amount here. Now, I don't think I can get up to the 256 mode. I don't know if there's another standard sizes out there that I can think of using. 240, 225. $240 seems pretty common. Hey, this is the same as what I'm going for, or was going for. That's pretty neat. 128, 256, 384, 240. So 240 keeps popping out to me. So if I made this here 240, that would be 48 pixels extra. So it'd be 24 pixels on either side. One of the things I could try here is to actually simulate that with my prototype here. So let's get into that. So what that would mean is that when I draw this, I would just want to go in a little bit. So it'd be like new vector 2, 24, and then still have 128 as my height, but what's the next value above that? That might be good. Go with the tick 80 side, 136. So 136 would be over 128 would be another 8, so it'd be 4 pixels on the top and the bottom. That's going to look a little weird maybe, but let's give it a try. So it's an extra 8 for them. And I could just go an extra 8 and an extra 3. Let's make the background black. Or gray, since we can see what's going on. Sorry, I gotta get rid of my screens all over the place here. Okay, so that's what that would look like, assuming that it's, you know, actually oh, my scaling is all messed up because of this scale matrix thing, which I'll just take off just to get the feel for it here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? The other thing I want to do is set the actual screen size to be what I would expect it to be. And in MonoGame, you do that. Graphics dot preferred back buffer width equals, what did I say it was, 240. By 130, it was 8 on top of 128, so 136. Yeah, 136. Oh. Graphics apply changes, and then I'm going to turn this off. So it might be hard to see because I'm not scaling up and down here, but hello, why is that not working? Let's try doing that down here. There we go. It's a little uglier, but you get the point. Well, it's tiny, but you get the point of what I would be looking at. Now, I'm not sure I like the whole, the bevel being this big, and it looks kind of wrong to begin with, so, I must have done my math wrong. 48 is 196 is 4, so it's really 44, so it should be 22. That I'm going here. Still, that's a bit much in terms of additional space on either side here. Now, what I could just do is put an extra character cell width, which would actually put this at, so 196 to or sorry, 192. So I did have it right at 24. Gosh, I'm apparently need to drink more coffee. So if it's 196, or 192 rather, and then I add on, I can make this a flat 200 and put 8 on either side, but that's not even that nice. I could make it 198, which would add a character cell on either side. 198. So it'd be 3 on either side. So then in here, this would actually be... What I could just do here is to make this a little bit more dynamic. Put a bevel of 3 on either side, so 6 total. Kind of brings it in. Could make it a perfect 4. Gosh, that's really hard to see, I'm sorry. Probably. I wonder if I can do the zoom on this. Magnify, is that what it's called? Yeah, whoa, hello. Yeah, I want to get out of that. All right. So, well, let's, you know what we should do is keep this as close to powers of 2 as possible. So we're at 128 plus 64 is 192 is where we're at. So if we added on another 16, that would keep things fairly good. So if we did 208 from 192, that would be, yeah, 16. So this would be 8 on either side, which is exactly where I'd be going anyways. And then I need to up this from 198 to, I say 208. That's not bad. And if I set the logical size of this on the viewport adapter to 208 and 136, and I restore that down here. No, I still need to do that. I need to do that. I'm going to take this out. Again, I don't know why this is not scaling appropriately. Something's obviously busted, but let's make it a darker color just so it gets a better feel. And I really should have the outside be maybe a darker color, or maybe it should be lighter. I don't know. What's the darkest, closest thing to black I can get on here? Well, that is not dark at all. Is there like a smoke? Let's make one. We'll just go with 83. That might be too light. Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. What I could do is make this a lighter shade too, just so it has a little bit of a roughness to it. And then maybe do some coloring. I could come up with a base color instead of using black and white. I've always liked amber, the color amber, for this kind of thing. Amber console. Or sorry, amber text terminal. Like this style of thing. With that glow. Which I could do with a shader potentially at some point in time. Is add this kind of nice glow that you get with an amber display like this. But anyways, that might be a direction I go with it. Like I said, I am really kind of confused as to why this transformation matrix is not going right. Let's take a look. So this is creating a scale where you take the width of 734 and 480. Is that really what that is? 734? Is that right? I guess it could be. What if I manually set these to 1280 by 720, which is usually what I set my games to? Still is upset. Or not upset, it's not what I'd expect. The scaling is wrong. Well, it's not wrong, it's just not centering it. Like, it's centering it. Come on. Oh, hello. Destroyed you, Microsoft Visual Studio. So somehow this viewport width is getting messed up. So where does that get sent? Set. That could be in the way that I'm constructing this thing. Graphics viewport width. It's interesting, it's doing all of this work, but what am I actually getting it for it? Oh, I see. So it sets the viewport here. So I didn't write this code, by the way. This is not me. This is something I copied and then augmented to try to just do exactly what I needed it to do. I wonder if it's because... Is it because this is not running? Let's try that. No, it's definitely running. It's running all the time, apparently. Why is it running so often? It should only be when the... Oh, is this getting run all the time? Let me try removing that once. That looks a little better. Maybe. Let's make it so I can actually scale this stupid thing. We'll call reset once at the beginning right here. After it's made. Well, that shouldn't really be needed since I'm instantiating it here. And that should technically... Yeah, I'll just leave that out. But let's make the window resizable. And there's the queue. That looks like it's working now. Of course, so there will be actually, like, it would be, yeah, it's hard to describe, but this would be actually reflective of it about right there, what it would look like. When you go over, then there would be another bevel on the outside that's a color black, probably. But this way, again, it's just that this isn't, you know, buddied up to the edge, but maybe that's not a bad thing. Like I said, it could be that I'm just overthinking this here. Nope, what am I doing? Let's go back to our original size. And get rid of our space here. Oh, so I do need to reset at some point in time. That's why it started off scaled wrong. You know, this isn't so bad. I'm just overreacting, probably. I bet it would look better in a full screen, too. Let's try doing that once. Oh, how do I do this again? Full screen. The toggle full screen. There we go. Ooh. Are you actually getting that? So interestingly, like when I run full screen, you got my OBS there for a second. I'm gonna try running that again once. I want to see how this responds to it. So I clicked out because I clicked on OBS there. But interestingly, like you see just this sub corner here. So it actually resizes the screen going to full screen. Interesting. Yeah, this isn't so bad. Okay, I think I'm sold. I'm just gonna keep it at the size that I want here, which is 192 by 128. So 192 by 128 with 16 colors. I gotta figure out the color palette. So what else do we need to figure out? So there's limitations in some of these that that I need to probably figure out. I do like the idea of multiple screen sizes too, but homegirl. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like a Windows 3.1. And you can kind of pick your size based on the display capabilities. It's actually not a bad scheme. That would be kind of neat, wouldn't it? So, you know, imagine going into a window in here that's like, so you can imagine this is the console, something like display menu. Go to the sys tab, you click display. Display menu has, you know, like 192 by 192 by 128. Wow, I could type. But then you have something like, you know, 240 by I don't know, what are some other common ones here? 240 by what's Pixel Vision or Pico 8, which is kind of the standard guy out there. 128 by 128. So we did like one of the the problems with this would be I could have the standard calculator size in here. So if you did want to go closer to what the TI-83 was, I could have the 96 by 64. Something like that. And then follow suit with some additional ones. So, so 192 divided by 6 is, you know, this one is powers of you know, 2, but so if I had like a really high resolution, it would be something like 64 times, it'd be like 384, which I'm gonna guess is 192 times 2. Oh. Yeah, it'd be 384 by 256. Let's see what that would look like. I might break some stuff based on the size constraints that I have. And this text might be too small for people to read at that point. 384 by 256. I bet this breaks because I use a byte somewheres. Nope, I'm at full screen again. I have to shut that off. Oh, it's not bad. Yeah, I could make that work. Then people have some more options in terms of, you know, how they want to actually, like if they want, you know, higher resolution or whatever, they could choose that instead of me dictating to them, hey, you have to use this particular size. But I mean, it would still be within the spirit of what I want here, which is, let's go to the small size ones. So it'd be 96 by 64, which this is the standard TI-83 calculator size. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Oh shoot, wrong size. Wrong one. This right here would be 96 by 64. So this is closer to the thing. And the original TI-83 didn't have a title bar on it when you're in the menu system like this. So I think the black and white is just a bit too, like there's too much contrast, which makes it kind of ugly. One thing I could try to do, just to play around a little bit further, I'm generating this palette based off of starting at 0. So it's 256 divided by 16. So if I went and said it was some higher number like 156, and then I added 100 off the bat, it's going to change it dramatically. So now the softer color contrasts, it's easier on the eyes, but not great for display either. I think what I might do is something similar to that 1-bit. Well, I might use this amber color. We'll see. Okay, so I think I'm sold on doing the 3 resolutions, with this being default. So you'd select from here, and then it would be highlighted. Now I could also have give somebody the option to edit the palette, where I have the 16 colors in there, and they're just tabbed 1 through 16. Maybe the first one, you know, is something like we just do 0, 0, 0, or math. This really should be a mask. So like, you need for these sprites, you need a color that represents the other absence of color. Not black, but just like you don't render this part, so it's a mask color. And so you can set that to be whatever. You know, I think Pixel Vision 8 did it with magenta. You see it with probably lime green occasionally too. But so these are going to be something like this. So you got 3 options there. We got a 16-bit color palette, 1 mask color. We need probably a black and a white, right? Okay. Now I'm going to, for the actual first real implementation of my 83, I'm going to not include audio. That'll be like the next iteration of it. So here's good. So I got to define out the Python API as well here. Nope. Let me bring that back around and off to my other window here. So at first, like I said, I want it to feel similar to the TI-83 TI basic commands. Okay, so I should say that this is, I should also include in the display what the character counts are. So, you know, 192 divided by 6 is, oops. Wow, I've done this how many times? 32 by, what is it, 8? Yeah, 8. What am I talking about? No, it's 128. So 16. So this is for the character array. This one would be, you can see how well I can't do math in my head. 16 by 8. And this one would be then 64 by 32 for the character buffer. Something like that. So I want to, like I said, I want a similar feel to this. So, so they, I think, called it the home screen, which is a, is a command line type interface. Oh, interesting. Store pick allows the current picture from the graphic when addressed as a store submenu. Useful, you want to frequently use pictures or background that you don't have to continuously redraw. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of doing that. That is something I'm going to have to put in there. Oh, they actually have like... So this is a developing games type thing. Sweet. Let's just go through this, maybe. Variables, yeah, lists, I'm not gonna, those will be all Python type stuff. Matrices we're not doing. Conditionals, loops, branching. We're not caring about those. Those will all be handled by Python. Okay, so here's a command. So if we do it like this in a Pythonic way, and then we do output. and that is this could probably get by with short, but in any case, it's a number. String. And we don't need to know that. Program. Don't care about those. Although I could use those emulators to kind of experiment a little bit. Okay, here's something I haven't done. Input. And that takes a prompt. And then I'm assuming that would be where it's stored into. This one would obviously return the value of what the input is. Now, the interesting thing about input, when you're requesting it, is it's from the Python side, is that it's a, like the menu, it's a synchronous, like, you have to suspend execution. Like, you want it to be synchronous, but it's not going to be. So it's not like you can't really write the code in this way. You can't write the Python code like this because it's not going to work. Now, it could. There are some massaging that I could do potentially to make it work if I wanted to parse out the Python and put yield statements in there so that it can, I think Python has yield. Python 2.7 yield. So I'd use a generator. But I really don't think I'd want to be doing that. So I have to think about how this input's going to work. So input might actually return something like, so you write it like input number. And what you get back from this is not... is something like a promise. That then you need to wait for. That's going to be really difficult from a state perspective to get that. Now the other thing is could I write the code that interacts with Python in such a way that it can suspend operation while you're getting a value here. So if you think about it, what's going to happen is that Python's going to call this back into a method on our side, or on the other side. Now, if this was running in a thread, a separate thread, completely, I could have it sit in that thread and simply, spin. Now, the thing is that as numbers are entered, they need to be drawn, though, on the screen. So this is really like, you wouldn't actually be... I need to think about how that's going to work. Because it's easiest to understand if it can be synchronous like this, though. It's easiest to program against. Same with the menu. what it could be thought of is that you take the current state of the screen as is, or it would jump you over from, if you're in graphics mode, it would bring you back over to home mode or just text mode. It takes the current state of the screen and it launches a sub program, so you're not actually doing, it's no longer running your program anymore. It would run a new program inside of that, so you don't actually write the thing. I think there's a way to do this. I'm just going to assume this is my goal, and I will figure out how to make it work. And I'm going to do this in so it's going to take an input string, which is the prompt, and it's going to return a now in theirs they actually store it to a variable. I'm just going to have it return a string. Then they can figure out what to do with that. So it's going to be very much like, actually, does Python have an input already? I think it does. I think that's their standard. So I can't use input here without redefining what input means. So I'm going to have to think about that too. What happened to my... Oh, did I close that tab? Shoot. So used to doing that. Oh, never mind. It's right here. Now I could make it so that I use uppercase like this and actually try to do these very similar to what they actually have here. And that would cause the conflicts to go away with Python, because everything that they do. But again, it's not clean. Now I could make this so that I could do something like this and make everything a 4-letter command. Output like that. That would probably prevent me from hitting anything. People could always redefine what these are and put an API around them themselves too if they want to expand the name. Okay, so that takes an input and returns a value. I don't think I need these. So here's the menu command. This is the one I definitely want, and that's the one that I've got in there. Now menu actually is just a single command, and it runs kind of like input. So it'd be like this. Now the way I had it structured was slightly different because there's a title. Now I think what I might do is not make that part of the menu system, because that title you might want there anyways. Oh, 1 second. What's up, hon?
It won't let me go into Bank Central where I have to do my map.
Oh, hold on. Let me take a look. System you're trying to reach is unavailable.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Give it a try. Always try to refresh, honey.
Okay.
Alright. Okay. The other thing is here, tabs. I don't think that they've got... TI basic menu tabs. I don't think they've got that concept. Ooh, toolbar. Is this really a... Yeah, I think these are getting a little bit too complex. So the thing that I have to know here is how do you separate out, what all of these are. So it really should be like an array or a list. And I suppose I could use tuples maybe here, where I go like, could be a list of lists, where the first one is the tab name. Should be string, and basically it's composed from this. So if you think about this in terms of this is the minimum values that you would need to have in any particular one. So each entry in the inner side would be, or in the inside would be a tab. The first one would be its name. The second one would be an option. And the third one would be the tag value that you get back for that. So like if you wanted to, for example, be like a simple yes/no menu would look something like this. I suppose I could have different types, but something like that would be your actual menu. So this would be your prompt. This would be the first value, and then the tag that goes with it. Second value, the tag that goes with it. So if you select yes, yes would be returned, or you could make it like something like that. So this would go on. Now I could look at different more Pythonic ways to do this, like, what if I make this like that? Make these tuples. I think Python supports tuples, right? Said it's been a while since I've done. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, tuples. Yeah, that should be fine. So, I mean, I could have this to be a tuple, where this is like that, and then this is really a list. Of tuples. But anyways, something like that. So you have maybe like this. Or I could do like I had been doing and not include a thing and just return the index. So I think that's what I had before. I could have this return so you give it a list like this, and instead of returning yes, no, this would probably be simpler. Something like this, where you've got so if you're to print yn, or yn would be the value of your selection, like tab 0, selection 0, index. So it's all index based like I did before. You know what? I like that scheme. I think I'm going to stick with it. But I want this to be the basic building blocks here. And why is there 2? Maybe 1 there. Like that. Now, again, the way that I have this structured right now in my prototype is that when you go in, like, you have to update and then you check the responses to see if there's anything new. I want to figure out a way to make this synchronous, so when it calls back in, it waits. You know, and it might operate in a loop, like it could have a threading loop. And so Python would just be suspended while this goes. But in order to actually do that, then what I have to have is anytime that you run a menu or an input or an output command, what you're really doing is you're sending a signal to a higher up program or a different program to do those operations. You're not actually doing it. It's not like an immediate mode thing. You're inverting control when you do this, which I think is doable. Could use some threading maybe or something like that. I'll figure it out. But that's what I want it to look like, I think. Okay, let's keep going here. So we got menu. Not gonna do anything with loops. We got output, so prompt. Is just input with no values. I think just to keep things simple, I'm not going to include that one. Okay. So this is I/O from the perspective of pressing a particular key. Now, on the home screen, you know, this would be like if you display a menu, or sorry, you display something like a info screen, and then you say something like click escape to continue, or click a button to continue, click enter to continue, and then you would continue on. This is just a singular key input, and it could be any key. So I think I'm going to have that get key like that. And it takes nothing, but it returns a key code. I should probably put these values as their things. Their data type's less important. Output. Actually, I think I changed this so that I'm not going to have that. This is just going to be like this. Alright. Yeah. So get key returns the key code of the key pressed. So ordinal, be like its ordinal value rather. So min-max, those things can all be just written in Python, or I might provide some things there, but simultaneous movement, no, anything new. Okay, so this is just how we write the game using all of the things that they've given already. In theory, I should be able to do something like this. So it's on data types, which I don't care about. Random, no. Graphics screen is the next bit. I do like this store pick and recall pick idea. So basically, it's like you take a screenshot and you store it to a picture variables, which numbered 1 through 9. I do like this idea. So this is our what do we call it? Home mode. Home screen. Graph screen. Oh, interesting. They're only 95 by 63, so they take off a pixel each. I wonder why they do that. Or is that just the index points that they're trying to get off here? Yeah, 320 by 240, 264 by 160. Huh. So I could have something like Stopy. That would not be good. Store pick. That'd probably be the best way to do this. And then that would take a, was it a register? Variables. It's really an index. Call it like a register. Load pick, or it's recall pick. All right. Graph database. So window format sending. I don't think I need those. So there's clear draw. This code will recall, pick, and let's draw. I wonder what pause does. I wonder if I can just get an enumeration of them instead of going through this. So home screen has got clear home, display one or more arguments of text value on new line. So that's kind of like output, but it's not at a specific location. I think I should probably do something like that as well. So output pauses the program and displays the home screen until the user presses enter. It then also can display text or value with scrolling available. Pause command is used for suspending execution of a program at a certain point. This is useful when you have text or instructions on the home screen that you want the user to read before the program is used. So it's kind of like a while the program is being paused, the pause indicator turns on the top right corner of the screen. So that comes up here, as you see when they press run the program. There's that little trio of dots that show up. And then erase. Pause command gives the user ample time to look at and read text. Alternative to pause is completely repeat until whatever. Optional argument that can either text, number, variable, expression. Can be displayed, whatever, so this would display hello world, goodbye, and then you press world. So I think I'll include a pause, but I'm not sure I'm going to use all of the stuff like that. I'll just do like that. And I'm not going to include a variable at this point in time until I figure out what that's needed for. And if I do need it, eventually it'll be optional. Okay, and menu I've already got figured out. Good. Graph has got a clear draw, which I have. So this is like a setting of variables. Oh, so there's variables. Xmin, Xmax, and you set them independently. The bottom row is unusable. I'm not going to do that. The color calculators screen take up the border and the info and then blah, blah. So I wonder if it scales if you go higher than 96. And like, what if you set lower? Or do you have to set a box every time? Because I remember you could like zoom in and out of a graph. Designing out the API here for the home screen which is really like the text or console mode that I've been in. So these are all kind of taken from, mostly from, and I'm not sure that this get key is that same way, but, and maybe I might not even need that, but we'll figure it out. So what I want to do here too is include some additional ones. So, and I might borrow this from like when you're doing a console window in .NET. You can actually set the foreground color and the background color. So you could say, I can show you what that looks like. Let me just grab program here. So for console, there's a foreground color, and you can set it to, you know, a value like that. And that will set the text color for you, basically. The other thing that's missing from this here is, like, I had the option on output to invert the value that you're outputting. I don't think I'm going to do that. But I do want the idea of what I want to call highlighting, which is basically the same thing. But what it's going to do is I want to do highlight, maybe, or H-light, hilt. Yeah. So highlight will take an XY and a len. And then it's going to take palette index. So so we have our palette here of different colors and stuff like that. So if you wanted to highlight it by normal, like, it's always technically highlighted. It's just highlighted with the mask color, maybe. But when you highlight it, you would get although this is essentially the same as doing a background and a foreground shift before writing it. So I could do something like this. Set color, foreground, palette index, and background palette index. So instead of treating this like it's a instead of treating this like it's an immediate mode thing, when you type this stuff out, it sets the color and then I'll probably have like variables for like default color, so you can go back to normal, something like that. So let me start to put in some information on these. Outputs text. Outputs text value at XY coordinates. Set color. Sets the foreground. Background colors. And the key for this is takes effect when output on next output. Well, actually, hold on a second. So the interesting thing is that when you do this set foreground, set background, I think, well, no, yeah, it should be the next thing. So if you clear the screen, the entire thing would be set. Oh gosh, sets foreground. Takes effect. So if you run clear, if you want to totally just swap the colors outright, you would run set color, then clear home, which would then, you know, go through and wipe out all those values, but it would wipe them out using the background color. Now you could use an output, and then, so if you're going to do, like, let's say syntax highlighting, you'd keep the background the same, you'd change the foreground, you would type your letter out, or your word out, then you would swap back to the normal default value. So display is kind of like your print, and I hope none of these are going to be Python conflicting. Like, you know what? Instead of value here, I want to go text. Outputs a line of text to the console. Input reads a line of text from the console, or from the home. Just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna define console as part of this. It's a line of text. Pause. It's for the user to press the enter key. And it's starting to get a little hard to kind of take in all at once. I'm going to swap the font a little bit down again. So, actually, you know what I should be doing? Is not using not using Notepad like a noob. There we go. That's interesting. It like didn't new line any of that. Why doesn't it new line? There we go. So those are our resolution options. Home mode. Okay, so we've got a palette. Oops. Okay, Python programming.
Mhm.
16 by 18 characters. The palette is really part of the display. So then we have programming for the home screen, commands, clear home. Actually, you know what would probably be better to structure it like this as a table. Is that how you do a table in? Markdown table. I gotta include the little. Like that. There we go. Can you affect with the table the width in Markdown by just adjusting this, I wonder? Nope. Really doesn't do anything. Gotta draw it the way it wants. Input reads a line of text. It's user to press the enter key. Oh. I don't think that's gonna. Okay, that works. And menu. I'm just gonna delete that. I know how to do it. It returns the tab index and the option index. And get key. So that's the extent of the home screen commands, graph screen commands. I think that's all. Oh, you know what? Other one I wanted to do is to have the option for a title. And that would show the... so if you pass an empty string to it, it would remove it. But if you pass a string to it, it would do like this, and then everything would be pushed down a level, possibly. So if you think about it, like the menu here, these are the tabs. If you just did a clear home menu command, you know, these would be at the top level. It would say games new sys. But if you did title at any point in time during the execute, well, if you did title then menu, it would display the title up here, FC36 blah blah blah, and then the menu options down here. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. Okay. Title would take your text or null or empty. Highlighted title to the top of the screen. Yeah, okay. So I think that'll be the extent of the home screen commands at this point. So graph screen, we have clear draw, clears, should be graphic screen. I wonder how, so takes a picture of the screen and stores to register. Draws a picture okay. Now one that I have from the Idealist Sprite. I'll call this buffer index. Okay. Takes inspiration from the TI-83 calculator, combines it with, takes inspiration from the TI and combines it with really like tropes, features from other fantasy consoles and game systems. my83. So it won't be me 83, it'll be my 83. Or I think that's how you'd pronounce it. I guess I could ask Google. You know what I do to do this is English to some other language. Then you enter in like that. You go. MI is how it's pronounced. I guess it should be really MI83. MI83. Minnesota Instruments. Yeah. Anyways, I'll just leave that off. Let people figure out how they want to pronounce it. Initial prototyping done. FC 360. And that I will grab from my github.com. And I'm going to create the repository now. My83. A fantasy game console. Makes sense. Combines all the features. So like that. Yeah, this backwards. I don't write a lot of markdown by hand, so assets available. Your channel. All right. So getting back to the fun stuff. Sprite takes the index and then X and Y draws a sprite from the sprite buffer to the screen at XY coordinates. Okay. Oh. You know, the more that I look at this, like, 4-character setup that I'm doing, the less I'm liking it. I wonder if I should just go with the full, and you just, you know, use the non-Pythonic way of doing it where it's uppercase. Or I could do like this, clear home. output home. Set color. Although I hate the home. Or I could go real TA83 basic commands. And just totally go like out. Now there is none for that. What was display? Is it just DISP? Command displays the graph screen, so I do need to have that option to display. Display will display the text or variable on the next line of output. Unlike output, it will not flow to the next line, but it will scroll the screen. Leads to whatever. It will also show the home screen. Wonder how you... Oh, they call it the I/O screen in T84 speak. Let's get calc. Gets the variable a calculator, pastes it in the variable on your calculator. If the calculators aren't linked, then the variable will remain the same. Interesting. Ooh, what's send? To a linked calculator. Never thought of doing that. Linking calculators. I suppose if you wanted to do like a multiplayer game, that would be kind of interesting. I don't know how it would make it work. Just for online tool. Open lib. PGRM. Oh yeah. Forgot about that. I will need some of these because that would be, you would write another program in Python and then run it. Okay, that's cool. So this would be just display. And this would be input with a capital I. You know what? I'll have to see if I do that in... I don't think Python's got an uppercase input. Yeah, it's not highlighting, so it's probably not. Probably got lowercase input, though. Okay, we'll just go with this. You know what? Sorry, Python people. There's going to be less... menu. Get key. Title. And these are the kind of like extension ones I'm going to put down here. All right, so we've got that. Now, this only makes sense within this. Switches to graphics screen. I Didn't realize there was also a table mode in TI-83 land. Let's see what that does. It's just display table. Is there a better? No, it's not going to show me what it looks like.
Welcome to Melio Payments for Accountants. To join Melio Accountants, go to melio.com.
Use the arrow keys where you're it'll show you a table of values for the x, -2, and then the y value, 0. Now, mine is value. It's
Okay, I don't think I really need that concept right now. Maybe in the future I might want to do something with that just to keep the spirit of TI-83-ish stuff alive. So display will switch you back to the other mode. There is no such thing as... Oh, so... Yeah, okay, draw mode is what I want, so... Your draw, there's the graphic scheme. And this was, store picture, I think. Store pick. Did they actually make it smaller here? Yeah, oh, I see on T89 it's recall pick, but on 84 it's recall pick. And so they don't do the full thing, they just do pick. There, it's less asinine now. Sprite, we'll go with that. So they have point on, point off, and then they have pixel on, pixel off. And that's because I think on the TI-83 graphing mode, you can have a point in space and then kind of zoom in and out. I don't think I'm going to allow zooming in and out on it. Point change. Pixel on, pixel off. Pixel change. So it's pixel change as a toggle, I'm guessing. This turns on a pixel at 5.5, then pauses. Then turns the pixel off, then pauses. Then turns it on again. So it's pixel on, pixel off, so it toggles. Whatever pixels at that particular location. I think I will have that concept. Pixel on for sure. That's why. You know what it's needed? It's just queries, so turns pixel on at y coordinates. Pixel change. Is that how it goes? Toggles. So now one of the things that's interesting about pixel on and off, it assumes a particular color. So really, but I have more colors than just on and off, so it's not whatever. So I mean, technically I'd have to have the whole range here. So really, it should be something like pixel change is just... Well, I could have on and off being on takes a color. Pixel off just turn the pixel off at coordinates. Sets to mask color. And then pixel change is to actually doesn't really matter here. In fact, neither does this really. I'm just gonna call it pixel, just to simplify the whole thing down. Turns a pixel, changes pixel, XY coordinates using color to color at valid index. Alright, that's simple. Math, I don't care about. Number, oh, it's past 11, I might have to go here. Or I will have to go here eventually. Let's see here. Anything else? So I will want to do line. What do these do? Draws a horizontal line. Oh. So line probably takes 2 points. Yeah. Vertical draws a vertical line. Actually, don't mind that. That's kind of cool. Tangent. Draws a... yeah, I'm not going to do that. Draw F. Draws a specified function. Yeah, we're not going to draw functions. Fade. I do like the idea of doing
Daddy,
shade.
you can't move another inch and start.
Oh, 1 second. Yes, you can, hon. I'll be done here in a second, okay? And then I'll come and make you lunch. Now this one, text, is going to be interesting. Because it's not like on the home screen. I think the text is smaller. So I'm going to probably leave that off and I'll make that like an extension. But I think I'm going to have line from X, Y. What's the commands there? Line X, Y, X1, Y1 to X2, Y2. Horizontal. Horizontal. X. Sorry, this would be your Y value. There's a horizontal line at the X, the Y, along the Y coordinate. Vertical. Did they spell that right? Vertical or vertical? Vertical. Vertical. Good. I did spell it right. Draws a vertical line along the X coordinate. Draw inverse equation. No, sorry about that. Circle. I will want circle probably. XY radius. Oh, you know what these need? These all need a palette index color too. Two T's in palette, right? Oh, one L, two T's. Derp derp. Nope. Okay. Now I could do, instead of passing this palette index, I could do what they do in, you know, other systems, which is to set like a, it's to set your like stroke value or whatever. Or your brush. Like that. Sets the... So this is kind of the corollary to this set color up here that I added. Which is a little bit different than, because like when you're typing text, you've got an on and an off part, but with drawing, like your background doesn't get set when you're setting pixels. It just is what it is. So clear might need a palette in this case. If I could spell palette correctly. Sets the brush for drawing. And that's used with these pixel line, horizontal, vertical, and circle. And this takes an X, this takes an XY and a radius. Draws circle at the XY coordinate. Centered on. Is it better to yeah, probably centered on X, Y coordinate with the given radius. Now it doesn't give you the option to do like filled circles or stuff like that, but I think I need to think through how I'm going to do like a, you know, filled circle. I could, you know, because you could give it a palette index and then it would, for a fill, then it would if you just provide the mask value, or that's the default, potentially it just doesn't fill. And the brush uses, or I could have the concept of a fill. So if I want to do other complex things like rectangle or whatever, where there's a draw rectangle with a fill, I've got those options. You know what? That's not bad of an idea. Fill. I could call this stroke. Sets the color to use for drawing. Sets the color to fill shapes when drawing. 0 for transparent. No, there's no concept. If you did a transparent for that, it just wouldn't draw anything. Yeah, I'll just leave that finer point off for now. And you know what? I will include a rectangle. Okay, that should complete the list of things that I'm going to run for the initial command set. That just kind of makes me think, you know, instead of set color here, I should have a set foreground, set background. Okay, and I think I'm going to leave that as is for now. And I need to go make my daughter some lunch, so I am going to go here. Thanks for watching. I'll probably be back on later to do this. So have a good day. Talk to you later.